So there's been another victory.
There has. Team Quality snagged more tops, more wins, and more prizing, and just more cardboard for us to trade and lose money on, because that's life. But, so Saturday was the Legacy of Destruction sneak peek preview for Thunder Forge Gaming in Tip City, Ohio, where we play at. And we had a total of 16 players, and I ended up getting first place, playing 55 card branded. I only lost one game playing the entire event. There was supposed to be 5 rounds. We had 4 because of 2 drops, but my matchups were still very meta relevant for anyone wondering like how free it was, because I had 1 Flunderies player, 1 Voices Voice, 1 Pearly, the guy behind the camera, and then 1 Runic for hire, but it was mainly just Runic stun. It was like Super Ancient Organism Turbo. So that's the only game I lost. But yeah, 55 card branded somehow got me there. It had like probably the most consistency I've seen in the deck in a long time besides Vanadium. RIP my boy.
Rip Baron.
Yeah, RIP Baron. But it's alright, we have new Barons in this deck. But,
Alright. Let's see what you got.
Alright, so we're going to talk about the list. So first, we're going to start off the starters and everything. So we have 3 Aluber. Aluber is just the sexy Rhoda. It grabs any branded card. Really should say branded fusion, but there are other cards to grab too, I guess. Play 2 Tragedy. Because I play the Patrick engine, you have to play 2 at like minimum. You could play 3 if you wanted to. It's not like a necessity. But just opening Patrick with this means that you get an automatic like Queritus to help you play through Nib, plus getting a search for Aluber or Quem is kind of insane. 1 Quem. Most 55 card or 60 versions play 2 because it helps you play through Nib, but I just don't see as many main deck Nibs as I used to. And post side, when you're going into like game 2 or game 3, because if you go first game 1, you should just automatically win. It kind of feels like you can just play around Nib post side, so I never felt the need for 2. So, you know, great investment of like $55, but it's alright. So that was the Despy account. Only played 5. For anyone wondering why I didn't play ad-lib, it just didn't seem that great going second unless you had already had this fusion monster established. So I didn't feel like I needed ad-lib, and I felt like Quim was kind of just like a better ad-lib, like fusing off of Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn with Cartesia and then bringing back the Mirror Jade just felt like a cooler play. So that was something. So we'll talk about the Albaz monsters. First, OG Albaz.
Where's your QCRs, bro?
I'm broke, and I sold them because I didn't think I was going to play this deck, and I thought I was going to sell it for the price it was, but we're here. 3 Cartesia. This card is just standard at 3. You can maybe cut it down to 2, but Branded Fusion plus this card is the full Gimmick Puppet lock, and this card plays through Imperm, plays through Droll, plays through so much, so it just kind of feels like a necessary card to play. 3 Shrouded Dragon. This card is just cracked upstart. It's draw 1 plus Foolish any branded spell or trap, so it sends like Retribution to add back your Branded Fusion or Branded Red. My Pearly matchup, I sent Retribution and he didn't know it was cost, or maybe he just didn't want to like let me get to a card I wanted to send instead. But I sent Retribution. He chained to try and target the spell I would add back. I chained Retribution to add it back, so it kind of like negged a resource. So that was cool. And the last card I played was 1 McCourier. After the event, I did some like deck building and testing, and I decided that this ratio was perfect, and the only thing I'd add to the Albaz monsters was I would add 1 Spriggan's Kit for an extra starter. Because there are times that you open like Rebellion / Branded Lost or maybe a Luber, and you don't want to lose to Ash on Branded Fusion, so you search Kit off Lost, summon Kit, search Branded Fusion, activate Branded Fusion. Once it gets stopped, you already have a board established. So that's something to think about. But for right now, for what I played at the event, this played great. I never missed the Kit. It was just an extra card you could think about. But this was great. I would never cut this down either. This was everything I wanted it to be. For the 1-ofs, 1 Saronir, 1 Lebellion. You just need these for the combo. You send this off Branded Fusion, bring back, activate Lost. Lost wins games on your opponent's turn. And then Saronir is just an extra Foolish of a branded card, and it's a hand trap. It's the only hand trap I play minus McCourier. 1 Maximus. The Nadir package I didn't actually get to use that much. I drew Nadir Servant a lot, but the deck has multiple discard outlets, so I ended up pitching the Nadir Fusion or Nadir Servant to keep playing and comboing. So this will eventually come out for a card I'll talk about later at the end of the profile when I talk about cards I would change, but this was alright. I didn't do anything with it.
Next set, they come out with a card called Nadir Fusion.
Oh, please. 1 Game of Puppet. I never Game of Puppet locked a single person. Everybody who watched my matches can attest to that. I never locked anybody. It never felt like a necessity. I never felt like I had to do it to win the match. I would keep it in though, because after theorizing and talking to a lot of branded players online and everything, a lot of people talk about how when you crack the Fire King Snake Eye board, you lose because they have too much. So the way you win is you break their board, leave them on no negates or no interruptions, but they have all the resources, and you just hand them the gimmick puppet and they lose because they get turn skipped essentially again, and you just automatically win from that point on. So it would stay. I just didn't get to use it at all. So I mean, that shows the skill in this deck. Now the most broken part of the deck, and the big reason why I love playing this deck, was the Edgent package with 2 Edgent, 2 Poly, and 3 Patchwork. If you want to cut it down to 50 cards, you can happily cut this to 2. I drew this more than I drew this all day, but that was fine because there's so many discard outlets this card works with. But either one is great. Just making Guardian Chimera to break the board and making it untargetable is insane, especially because if you lead with this card, you get to Guardian Chimera 1, Edgimp 2 with this engraved. They can't even like chain imperm in response to target it to negate it, and it's chain blocked by Edgimp chain. So now like if they have an Apo or an Omni negate like Skull Knight, they just automatically lose the board. So that worked great. But that was basically every monster I played, and then the Patchwork engine involved in it. But we'll move on to the brand spells. That part felt awesome, minus the Maximus really, and that would just be replaced with the kit. For the 1-ofs for branded cards, it's 1 Retribution and 1 Lost.
You gotta explain this 1 Lost.
So Lost is the greatest card ever printed for fusion decks. It works for any fusion deck, any fusion summon, and searches any card list Albaz. So it searches you. Like there are times in the game where like my hand was so good, I would just search an Albaz to fuse with 2 turns later, or I would just search a Albion to get Upstart Goblin, because I mean, why not draw another card if you can, right? Because this deck is just so free in that situation. I would consider playing 2. I thought about siding multiples for when I went first to guarantee that I get like that McCurry or Search so I don't lose to Nibiru on my end board. But I haven't done that yet. That's something to think about. But for right now, 1 is fine. If I want it anywhere near more than 1, I might play 2. I feel like 3 might clog, but yeah. Fusion spells, I played 2 branded in red. 3 Don't Ash Me Please. This card is unfair in the game. This card is Foolish Any card. It's basically your entire board minus 1 extender being Cartesia or Fusion Deployment or Albion or Lebellion or Saronir or Patchwork. It just works with every card. And then Branded Red was possibly the greatest card in the deck for the event. I dodged a Skill Drain. I dodged the Voices Voice Radiance trap card. I dodged a Veiler. And I dodged an Imperm with Branded Red during the entire event by just like Albion sending Albaz, draw a card, normal Luber, chain Imperm, chain Branded Red, add back, make Chimera, resolve, search Branded Fusion, Chimera, get Ash, activate Branded Fusion, GG's. I changed the list after the tournament and I played 3 of this card, and while testing 3 of it, I never regretted playing 3 of this card. This card is just so unfair against the opponent. Just quick play fusion, banish your resources, give yourself extra cards with like Tragedy or something like that. It's so nuts. Like playing this card more than 1 is what allows you to play through hand traps almost all the time. 2 High Spirits and 3 Opening for consistency. And I'll show it right here, but I also text 3 Fusion Deployment, of course. But this was great. This summons Cartesia or Albaz. It's the only targets you have, but Snake Eye boards and Voices Voice boards fear this card because you just Albaz, discard for cost, they have to interact with it, the same as Fenrir, so I thought about this card as Fenrir. This card is just a card that will always bait an interaction, going first or second. Brand Opening, just E-Tellies, Aluber, or Quem. If you open one or the other in this card, you just summon one or the other and you get full board no matter what. And this card is insane. I think I will cut it to 1 for now though, because I don't play enough dragons. This card is only really good when you open dragon monsters, because it allows you to send cards like Albion and Titanic Clad to get to the end phase to do your full board. But this card was really nice. Like I said, it will go to 1. What I would replace this card with is a card called Branded in White. It's a card that a Luber can search. That's another fusion spell that doesn't lose when you get ashed on your Branded Fusion, and you can still technically make full board. So that's something to think about. I just didn't have one to play for the event. 3 Nadir Servant, I'm just going to scoot right past this card. Like I said earlier in the profile, Maximus never came up, so the Nadir Servant never came up. It was just a discard outlet. This could have been anything else in the deck and it would have been cool. 3 talents, 3 thrusts. These cards were absolutely goated. I got hand trapped, I think, every game. Or if not hand trapped, I got like something negated going second because I lost every dice roll. So this card just helps you break boards or draw 2 cards. I rarely hand ripped. And this card sets fusion duplication or searches like your branded fusion all the time. So that's just something broken. It's just 3 more copies of branded fusion, so why not? Last one ofs, 1 foolish, 1 gold sark, just consistency. Think of these cards just saying Rhoda. This sends tragedy to search your starter, or it sends a card you're missing for your combo. Gold sark banishes McCurry or tragedy to search a Despia or search any Albaz card. So this searches the entire deck. It's what bridges it. 1 call by, 55 cards, but we still fear Ash, so gotta play that card. And then 1 fusion dupe, because fusion dupe is just the nastiest trap card to set off thrust. But that was the main deck. The main deck was 55. Like I said, there were a couple minor tweaks like Kit and Brandon White I would change. But besides that, it played super well, and I could probably cut the Nadir package and maybe make it 50. So there's that. Moving on to the side deck. Before I do, I want to shout out my team, Team Quality, for the custom sleeves. Shout out to Lucas for custom making these. Shout out to all my teammates. Shout out to Sheldon Bryant, Lucas Clark, myself. Shout out to our locals, Thunderforge Gaming. And shout out to my boyfriend for letting me make bad purchases. So, but on the extra deck, we're playing the 2 Mirror Jade. Standard, you have to play it. 2 Albion, this card is insane. 1 Lebellion, you can play 1 of this card avoidingly because this card puts itself back and really any other resource you need, or if you don't need this card plus playing Stapelia lets you put back any fusion monster in your extra deck. So like if you ran out of the 1 Chimera or the 1 anything, you just get to recycle it with this card, so that's why. But I play 1 Rimbroom, 1 Titaniclad, and the last card I play for the Albaz Fusions is I play Sanctifier. So much money just to never be summoned during the entire event, just never.
Not once?
Not once. Never. This card never hit my field. This card sat in my extra deck forever. It got to a point where I just started sending it off Mirror Jade after this was already engraved because I didn't feel like wasting resources. Like I hard made 1 Titaniclad 1 time. That was it. I never made any like I made obviously these 5. I made this 1 time hard made with my opponent's M pen and Albaz because you can. And I made a Titaniclad to beat over a big monster. I was the Skull Guardian, and I made a Sanctifier never. So it just kind of sat there in my extra deck. Obviously, you're still going to play it, but just for everybody wondering how many times I made the expensive card, never. 1 Granganol, I don't feel like you need to. If you need to, I feel like you're just doing your combo a little bit wonky, or like maybe you just didn't play around the proper hand trap or something like that. But I never need more than 1. If your hand really sucks, you just Granganol, send Guru, and Hope. So, but I never got to that point in the tournament, luckily, so that was nice. 1 Quiritus, 1 Masquerade. Something to talk about, this card is sometimes just game by itself. Sometimes the opponent has to combo or play so many cards that they just kind of lose to themselves. So this card's nice. Plus, I had 1 play where I activated Branded Red with 1 body on the board. So he thought I was going to make like a Quiritus or something. In response, I chained Masquerade to summon back, and that let me make the Guardian Chimera because it has a quick effect to summon itself if they have an extra deck monster.
You don't believe in the 2 or 3 Tax Dragon?
No, I think that's so extra. I think instead of making like 2 Tax Dragon, there's probably a way in the combo you could have made like Tax Dragon Mirror Jade, or Tax Dragon Sanctifier, or Tax Dragon like Garganol or Rimbroom, and that's just way better. And Quiritus is something to talk about also. So there's a cool, interesting line for all you players who want to play Brandon but don't know this tech. When you ever play against Snake Eye or anybody that really like resolves Zealantis or something like that, or has a removal card, if they remove Quiritus, it summons a Albaz or a Despia monster from your deck. What's really important is that when Granganol summons this is improperly summoned. So when they Zealantis to banish and bring back, this banishes but doesn't bring itself back because it's improperly summoned, and then it triggers on res to like summon Albaz, fuse with their like Zealantis or their Pyro Phoenix, go into Mirror Jade effect, banish their card, guarantee waste their gameplay. So they just lost resources trying to go for game because they didn't read cards. So that's nice. 1 Chimera, you never need more than 1. I was playing 2 for the longest time, just kind of felt like it was a waste of an extra deck because versus stun, you just make this card and win. So yeah, this card was nice. If you ever needed more like board breaking capabilities, you would stick Mirror Jade, and when the stun players cleared your Mirror Jade, you would then get to wipe their board also if they had any like problematic monsters. One Stapelia, this card is necessary for playing its Flender decks. Just target, negate, force the quick play spell. If they don't have it, it's kind of just wraps. But like I said earlier, this card with Blue Belly lets you put back anything and just make free cards. And the last two is just one Garura, one Mud Dragon. These are super high targets, but versus the Runic matchup, I actually made this card because I got super ancient organismed. So I just hard made a Tax Dragon, made this card, and kept calling Dark so he couldn't like out it because he didn't draw Freezing Curses in time. And that was a win con for me. If I had to change anything, I'd probably replace this Garura with a copy of Magnum the Reliever. It's just, it puts back and makes your Patchwork Engine so much better because you play actual poly. So that's one extra change. Everything else is great. And then let's finish off with the side deck. The side deck was sexy. 3 copies of Shifter. Shout out to my teammate for letting me borrow these. I actually found mine, so he's going to get these back. Because Shifter was just a good idea. This deck can play it. A lot of decks just lose to it or lose so many resources over it, so you're kind of stuck for it. 3 Super Poly. A lot of branded players have cut this card down or just not played it at all. It felt like it was unnecessary, but the Fire King Snake Eye board, once you just Super Poly away the Ambler Whale and the Arvada, their board is like 100% worse, and you just play. 3 droplets. It was just generic, hits every deck, stops you from getting FTK'd, stops like Pearly players from like breaking your board once they detach a resource.
The real question is, do you know what language they are?
These are German.
Oh, okay.
And then for the back removal, lastly, and then the last one going first card is I played 1 Duster, 2 Thrust, or 1 Duster, 2 Lightning Storm. Thrust searches these cards, so you kind of have like 6 of these. Because most back row decks will interact with you at some point with a monster effect, such as Labyrinth using like LEDE or Lovely or Ariana or something like that, so these cards are never dead. And then I played 2 Evenly Match. There are some decks that do out-resource you. I actually got to resolve this card 1 time in the tournament, about 6 turns after turn 1 against my teammate. He made full board, broke my board. I was going to lose, and then I topped it Evenly Matched for 6. And he had SP'd away 2 cards, and that just let me get really far, even though he did D-Barrier me before this activated, so it just kind of hurt my feelings. And then, of course, the 1 D-Barrier. This was the only card I could think about that actually hurts most of my harder matchups, because Fire King Snake Eye is kind of free for this deck. And this card beats like Voiceless Voice, Pearly, the Mirror Match, stuff like that. Like this card just goes in. It also beats the cards that you're scared of, like Colossus and shit sometimes.
Including all the decks that you did not face in this tournament. What's your hardest matchup?
My hardest matchup? It depends. Sometimes Voiceless Voice is a real struggle because I can't target a lot of things. And that can become an issue. And because especially when they have so much recursion, like if I do manage to resolve an Albaz or a Mirror Jade on like the Skull Knight, they have prayers to recur the resources and shit. But just any deck that can really gain resources really fast, such as this deck is hard as hell. Because once you clear their Seas Monster and they have like My Friend and Street Up, they just get like essentially 4 cards back. So right then and there, it's like either Gimmick Puppet or lose. But decks like this deck specifically can play so many hand traps, and so can Voiceless Voice. So when you're on that crackback trying to resolve the Gimmick Puppet lock to like win turn 3 or whatever, it's really hard to like win, because so many hand traps keep you from killing, and they have so many like potential plays on your turn and their turn. So yeah, just any deck that gains a lot of resources is kind of a hard matchup for this deck, but that's why I built my deck in the way that I did, kind of just to get the most amount of card advantage and see the most engine. I didn't want to play any non-engine that didn't get me 2 more cards I needed to see to play the game, so that's how I thought about it. But yeah, 55 card branded, obviously you got me there. This deck was crazy during the entire event. Definitely some tweaks to be made. Hopefully in the next deck profile coming soon, hopefully I'll be next after this one too. You guys will see a regional top or maybe a big local win or something like that. Maybe I'll pull an insane card and we'll have to do a profile on it.
Yeah, the next regional coming up is Kentucky, so be sure to look for us there.
You'll see me at table 1, you'll see Team Quality all at the high tables, and you'll see all of us out there. So with that being said, yeah, good luck to everybody going there. Hope to see you there. If you do watch this deck profile somehow on our small YouTube channel, come say hi. And I hope to see you guys at high tables with me.
All right, man. Appreciate the profile.